Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Storytime. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and his father, Craig, and
Sweet dreams.
No. Stop doing that. This is the TV show where, since my son was 13 and he's about to turn 17, so it's been a while, and I review horror movies because that's something we have in common. We love the scary flicks, and this is the third in our little mini run of reboots, remakes, reissues.
Remotes, rebakes, you know.
Anyway, a couple weeks ago we did the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, which was produced by Michael Bay. Last week
it was terrible.
We did the remake of Friday the 13th, which
produced by Michael Bay.
Would be okay if it was just a sequel, and then it was produced by Michael Bay. And this one, for a change of pace, we're doing the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was produced by Michael Bay. We didn't even realize that when we started doing these remake things, but we noticed it as we were watching it, and that's not necessarily a bad thing for all of the films, but for Freddy it was horrible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was bad. Bad idea.
Depends on how you take the Friday the 13th. But let's get into this week's episode where we discuss the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
One of the remakes.
Well, inspired by a true story.
Yeah, kind of.
No, it's inspired by the Ed Gein story. Did we ever do Ed Gein? We should do Ed Gein.
Had Kane Hodder in it, yeah.
We reviewed it?
Pretty sure we did, yes.
Oh, okay. We actually need to figure out which movies we've done so we don't end up doing the same one twice. Anyway, before we get too far into it, do you want to give a basic rundown of what the story is? You dork.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you forgot your paperwork. You'll have to go out there during the commercial or the trailer. So is there anything you want to say beforehand?
No.
Basic story, people traveling through Texas.
Right. If you saw our episode for the original.
Well, no, they pick up a hitchhiker, something messed up happens, and they end up running into this family of cannibalistic freaks. Just like in the original.
And danger ensues.
Yes. Let's get into the trailer and then we'll get back to the show. So hit that trailer.
Tell me how much you love me. How much? That much. That much? This much. That
much. Hey, are you okay?
They're all dead. The bad man.
I'm gonna have to call the cops, I guess.
Excuse me.
What the hell was that?
What?
I just saw something.
All right, that's it. If somebody's out there, just come on out.
What is that? The hitchhiker. What were they all doing here?
What the hell are you doing in my house?
You're all gonna die.
do?
What's wrong with you people?
Oh, my.
Welcome back.
All right. Well, before we get into our behind-the-scenes facts for this movie, we have to give a shout-out to our actual sponsors. As I've tried to point out, these are real things that you can actually buy, and I don't know why I'm doing air quotes.
I don't know.
Because these things exist.
Yes, they do.
Actually, some of them should. Anyway, this week, Gory Story Time is brought to you by the Hewitt Hook Company. We make hooks, nothing but hooks, and every kind of hook. We make fish hooks, eye hooks, and meat hooks. If you want metal bent with a barbed end, we're your guys. That's the Hewitt Hook Company. If you don't get hooked on our hooks, then go hook yourself.
And by the Coalition for Stopping Michael Bay from Ruining Our Lives. Whether it's attempted robot rapes in the second Transformers or wanting to make the Ninja Turtles into aliens, Michael Bay has been taking a shit on the childhood of not only my father here, but anyone who enjoys things from the 80s. Join us to prevent the next Bay catastrophe. Who knows? He could just want to ruin your favorite thing next. Find us and go fund yourself. Search for Stop Michael Bay and donate today. Thank you. Seems like something that
People should support that.
should support, yes.
Someone should be hired, me, to just walk around behind Michael Bay every time, and when he starts pitching something,
If it's dumb?
I just sit there with like the flexible end of a fishing rod, and when he starts to say, "Here's the idea: Thundercats needs a,"
Fun fact, he's the one directing, or is he just the producer of the new Dora the Explorer movie coming out? Okay.
that's actually not even a joke.
On with our show, though, because that's just going to be a horror movie in itself.
So let's do some behind-the-scenes facts. What do you got?
There's an homage to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from '74 regarding each film's leading ladies. Erin in this one and Sally in the original. In the remake, Erin pulls out a knife to unpick a lock. When she asked where she got it, she replies, "From my brother." In the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Sally's brother, Franklin, is obsessed with his knife, and at one point in the film, gives it to Sally. She never returns it.
Erica Learson screamed so loudly during her scream test that people in other parts of the building called the police to report a woman was being attacked.
Well, that's not fun.
But that's realistic for the movie.
Oh, yes. A then unknown John Larroquette provided the narration in the original The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Despite becoming a distinguished actor in the years since, he happily agreed to reprise his role for the remake.
He did the voiceover.
His role?
Well, he was the voiceover guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess.
During the scene in the van with R. Lee Ermey, who you know from...
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, love that guy. He played the sheriff. And Jonathan Tucker, who played Morgan, Tucker forced the gun down his own throat in order to make himself vomit on each take. If you watch carefully, you can see him spit actual vomit out of his mouth in the scene.
Whoa. That's intense. On his final day of shooting, Eric Balfour stripped down, threw his wardrobe back to the crew, and walked off the set wearing only a baseball cap.
Yep.
Oh, that's...
After learning about the remake, Andrew Briniarski, I don't know, who played Leatherface in this version, walked up to producer Michael Bay at a Christmas party and personally asked him for the role.
Lauren German, who plays the hitchhiker, originally auditioned...
I would have said German, but it is spelled the same.
Okay, auditioned
Just
for
as
the
a
role
name.
of
I don't know.
Aaron. I don't know.
Anyway, plays the hitchhiker.
Originally auditioned for the role of Aaron. I said that.
Okay. Pepper is one of the only victims to not see or enter the Hewitt house. Hewitt. It's a weird name.
Yeah.
But they make hooks.
Yeah, I know. In the third movie of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that came out in 1990, there was supposed to be a scene where Leatherface takes off his mask. But to keep the R rating, they had to cut it out. What?
They had to cut out that scene.
Okay. In this movie, the scene is reshot and seen. I don't get it, though.
What do you mean? They shot a scene where he took
Right.
off the face and you saw what he looked like underneath, and they said that it would be NC-17 because it was so gory.
Oh, okay.
So they had to cut it to keep the R rating, and they basically did that scene reveal in this version, which you remember because he had no nose and his face was all weird.
Yeah.
Daniel Pearl, cinematographer for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, reprised his position for this movie. So the same
Nice.
cinematographer for both films.
The bumper sticker on Kemper's van reads, "Nothing is true, everything is permitted," a reference to the movies based on actual events claim.
Except it was inspired. It doesn't say based on, it says inspired by, which is
Right.
a difference.
It says
And
that here, though.
Ed Gein did inspire this, and others.
Yes, many others.
But anyway, in the original script, the character Jedediah was going to wear a Felix the Cat t-shirt throughout the movie. This was later scrapped because the copyright holders on Felix the Cat wouldn't allow it. However, the novelization of the movie features the character wearing the shirt. Also, Jedediah was going to be killed by Leatherface by slicing his chainsaw through his back because he let Aaron and Morgan go. This was later scrapped because the filmmakers thought that was too intense.
Okay. Dolph Lundgren was first considered to play Leatherface, but he turned them down so he could spend more time with his family. Understandable.
Let's see. The film was made into a haunted house at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights in both Florida and Hollywood Universal Parks.
Nice. Yep. This movie is banned in the Ukraine by the Ministry of Culture.
Aaron's last name was supposed to be Hardesty, the same last name as the character Sally from the original. It doesn't say what her last name ended up being, but it was supposed to be.
A deleted subplot detailed Erin being pregnant, which was why when they went to Mexico she didn't drink the water or smoke the weed, as they talked about in the final cut.
In the original script, the hitchhiker was going to be 15 or 16 years old. The filmmakers later decided to change her age to make her about the same age as the rest of the main cast.
Right. The remake is a...
The remake Saw.
The remake Saw is a...
Husqvarna.
That word.
My uncle
Yeah?
owned a Husqvarna shop. That's how I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is a Husqvarna 359 with a 28 guide bar. These saws are made today and were not available in 73.
In Texas.
Right.
In 2002, Marilyn Manson was announced as the composer for this movie. He later had to bow out due to conflicting schedules.
Kirsten Dunst, Katie Holmes, and Jessica Alba were all considered to play Erin.
And Jessica Alba, probably the better looking of all of them, but anyway, in my opinion. Film critic Roger Ebert gave this film a rare 0 stars rating.
Wow.
Yeah, I like putting that out there. So the critics rated this movie at,
A 37.
according to,
Rotten Tomatoes.
and on Rotten Tomatoes, the people have it at 57%, which is
Still low.
still rotten.
Yes.
So, having,
Favorite scene.
yeah, what was your favorite scene of this film?
I'd have to say my favorite scene has to do with an added character for this version, the police officer. Mm-hmm. I thought, as we were conversing about it when we were watching it, I liked his addition to it in many ways, and I loved how just outright brutal he was to the people in the van scene specifically when he was making the guy put the gun up to his head.
Always plays Arlie Ermy. Even if he's playing a psychotic killer, like he's still the same guy. I mean, he even called them maggots at one point, just like Full Metal Jacket. Like,
just like back when he was doing that for a living.
yeah, I mean, he was a real drill sergeant, you know. He knows how to play that role.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that, like, he's one of those guys that whenever you see him, you know the type of character he's going to play, even if in this he's a sadistic murderer.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I like that addition. But my favorite scene probably had to do with when the guy got hung on the meat hook, which was something that happened
that was
in the
a nice
original.
touch, yes.
It happened in the original too. But then when they went to try to get him off of it, and he like slipped back, like they had him almost off, and he slipped and went like that. It for a horror movie, it was intense. It was painful to watch, and that's what I'm looking for in my like gory horror movies. You know what I mean? So,
Okay. My least favorite scene would have to be the one that they took out of the one from the 90s. I didn't like seeing his face. I didn't. It was weird. I kind of didn't want it.
well, it gave a little bit. The whole point was to give it an explanation as to why he felt ugly and wanted to wear other people's faces.
I mean, I already knew the real answer, which was he's just crazy.
Yeah, but
Like,
they wanted to give him a backstory for that specific act.
they
But
didn't need
whatever.
to make him look
I didn't say
weird.
they needed to, but you
Right.
know.
And I didn't
Right.
like that. It's
Okay.
just, nah.
My least favorite part was probably. I have to be honest. I really like this movie, but I guess it was. I liked that the family was a little creepier overall in the original. Like, yes, Arlie Ermey's character was a good addition, and the guy in the wheelchair was creepy and stuff, but
Right.
something about it was just dirtier and grittier in the original, and they tried.
And they
for
tried that, and it didn't really work as well
Yeah,
for
like
them.
you could. I mean, for a remake, it was really good, but it was a
Yes.
little slicker, and there's something about the dirtiness and griminess and like non-Hollywoodness of the original. You know,
Right.
It's like they were out there without permits and just doing it. Just I don't know. There's something about the original that they can't really touch.
Right. But that's the same with most originals.
Well, I mean, they were doing it on such a minuscule amount of money. That's why it took place in Texas originally, because they wanted it to be where Ed Gein was from, which I think was Louisiana. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. But that's
But the point is it
they
wasn't
couldn't afford to
Texas.
change all the Texas signs because they just didn't have the money for it, So, which I think we mentioned when we reviewed that. So I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, really good, but just a little too slick Hollywood for me.
Yeah.
And that's partly Michael Bay. I know it is.
Well, yeah, that happens.
But out of his remakes, this one I probably like better than both of the other two that we've done.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I like the Jason one too, the Friday the 13th. But Freddy, he just ruined.
But, I mean, since we're doing this as a stretch of not sequels, but as reboots, we have to look at them as reboots.
Right.
And that's why I gave it a low rating as
A reboot.
last
week.
Last week.
Yeah. But speaking of what we rate this, what would you give this reboot?
I'd have to give it a 6,
Okay.
which is passing. I mean, I did really like
Out of
it.
your school,
No.
D's or fails.
Yes.
But anyway.
But I did really like it. But then again, like, I like that they brought it to a new audience, like I've been complaining about the last two. Because the last two didn't really do that. This did. They actually did do new things in this one that made sense and were likable. So that is why it's passing for me.
All right. Well, I'm going to give it a 7, and the reason I'm going a little higher than you is if it was. I mean, I would probably go even a little higher because I really like this. If it wasn't for I've been a fan of and have seen the original so many times.
Right.
Like, if it wasn't for the original existing,
If this was
would
the
be a
only
great
one,
movie
then
in and
I'd
of
probably
itself.
have rated it higher.
But I'm going to go 7 because it is a quality horror movie.
Yes.
It is gory. And yes, it's a little slick. But again, I'm using the comparison against the original. And, which you have to do with remakes,
Right.
obviously. But I'm just saying, like, there's
And I
something about
mean,
it.
adding Michael Bay's name to the project doesn't help me look at it as a good
But that's
thing.
the problem. Is that I wish it didn't say that till the end. That way, you could have formed your opinion without having that sit in your head the whole time.
Oh
you watched
yeah.
it. But that's
next
Michael Bay's
week-
fault.
But next week, we're not sticking to the Michael Bay
No.
shtick of things.
Let's not even give him a preview. We'll
Nope.
but anyway, so he said 6, I said 7. Let's give out some info. You can hit us up on our email. It's gorystorytime@yahoo.com. You can get a hold of us. Well, you can't really get a hold of us, but you can follow us on our Facebook page, which is just search for Gory Storytime.
Yep.
You can follow Fact TV on Facebook. Just search for Fact TV. They post episodes. We post episodes. Whatever.
Share links and
We share
whatnot.
links, etc. You can go right to factdate.com and get
Watch a
access
bunch
to
of
a bunch of
back
shows.
episodes
Back
and other
episodes of
shows
this,
that they
other
have.
shows. Yep.
We have
Twitter.
Twitters, yes. I'm at Jason T. Jakes, capital J, capital T, capital J.
And I'm at Craig Jakes, all lowercase, all one word. We don't really talk about this, but you know,
But if you want to go get offended, follow us.
yeah. Like if you're like, I can't believe it. I was watching this show with my little children, this horror movie review show, and Jason said shit, and my kids' ears. You know, I had to cover their
The virgin
ears.
ears of young children watching a show about R-rated movies.
Right.
Oh no.
Exactly.
We're so sorry.
But the point is, if you happen to be flipping through the channel and you heard it, tough.
yeah.
Yeah. Send us an email and we will mock you viciously. We really don't care.
We'll read it on the air.
I have a list of things I care about, and
You're not
anyone's
on it.
anyone's opinion bad about what we do for the show, I don't put on that list. Anyway, we would tell you the times you could watch the show, but we don't really have that, and it has changed. So it's whatever time it is now, it's on.
And other times, if you find it then, those will help.
But I guess that's Gory Story Time for this week.
So until next time, I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and his father, Craig, and
Sweet dreams.